Earlier this summer, I hit a milestone in my Etsy shop. I made my 1,000th sale. And even though I had never before shared anything about my Etsy shop on my Facebook, I did at least announce that I had made 1,000 sales. And I was greeted with lots of congratulations, and I felt really good about that because it was a pretty big milestone for me. One of my friends actually contacted me on a message and said, I really want to pick your brain about Etsy because I'm interested in selling on Etsy too. Now, I haven't met with her quite yet, but I've been thinking about what I would say to her, and I thought maybe you could benefit from that too. So I am here in my Michigan downstairs Etsy shop, and I'm going to share my layout down here, how I got started on Etsy, and hopefully you may have seen one of my other 2 episodes on my channel, but this is my 3rd episode, and I can maybe answer that question, who is this girl, and where did she come from, and how did she get started on Etsy? Stick around. So soon after I retired from my 30-some year teaching career, I decided right away I needed something else to do. So I started a YouTube channel that was educational related, and it was many lessons from English language arts appropriate for middle school kids. I did this for 3 or 4 years, and eventually I kind of lost interest in it because I really wasn't teaching in the real world anymore, and so I wasn't keeping up with the latest trends, and I felt like it was just time to stop and do something else. So I did. I gave up that YouTube channel. The videos are still up and people are still watching them, but I've moved on. And here I am in my 3rd year of having an Etsy shop. How did I get here? Well, after I retired, I got interested in collecting vintage items and starting some collections of my own. And as Robert Frost would say, way leads on to way, and soon I had way too much vintage decor in my house, and I thought, I bet I could sell some of this. I considered many different platforms. I was familiar with Marketplace because I had sold some furniture on Marketplace, but it did not seem right for smaller items, and especially items that I want to ship, and I really didn't want people constantly coming to my house, picking things up. I didn't want to be dropping things off. So I knew a lot about Etsy. I had bought a lot of stuff on Etsy, and even though I also was familiar with eBay, I decided that Etsy was the platform I was going to try. So I remember one day I just went to a Goodwill and I bought 10 to 15 things, and I came home and listed them just like that. Now, were the listings good? No. Were the titles and tags and descriptions SEO optimized? Probably not, but at least I had a start. And a couple of weeks after I first listed my first few items on Etsy, lo and behold, one night I was sitting there looking at my phone. I did not hear the cha-ching because I didn't used to keep my volume turned up. But I was looking at my phone and I said to my husband, I think we just sold something. And we did. If I can find a picture of that item, it was a little salt and pepper set of a little boy and girl sitting on a bench. And I think I sold it for like $14 or $15. It was just a little thing. Anyways, that was my first sale. I had no idea how to ship. I just had figured, well, I'll figure it out on the way. And I did. Etsy makes it very easy to do shipping. And so I was off. So the first few items that I sold on Etsy were those items that I picked up at Goodwill, but I soon started pulling together items from my own home and selling those. And then I figured out that if I actually went to antique stores and found good deals on items, I could sell higher priced items and make a little bit more money. Selling the little things I had picked up at Goodwill for $10 or $15 or $20, by the time I spent all the time it took to source the item, clean up the item, catalog the item, photograph it, make a listing, and then provide shipping materials, boxes, packing peanuts, bubble wrap. I found very quickly that selling items for $10 or $15 on Etsy was just not sustainable. Now, that's not to say that I don't have low-priced items in my shop now. I do. I have a large selection of little Wade Whimsies that I got on a Facebook Marketplace deal where I got a whole box of them for $75, and I quickly paid that $75 off, and I am still selling those little Wade Whimsies in my shop. But each time I sell them, it's pure profit because I've already taken care of the cost of purchasing them in the first place. Now, figuring out how to ship was a learning curve. A few things got broken in the beginning. That very seldom happens now. But when they did get broken, I found that it really wasn't worth my time because I would have to refund that item. So I quickly became very good at wrapping and shipping items very securely. And maybe in a future video, we can talk about how to do that if that's something that you're interested in. Now, I had to learn a lot about inventory and purchasing the right inventory, sourcing it from the most economical places. And as you will probably find out if you're a reseller, you probably are going to want to source your items from many different places. Now, I'm really not someone that goes to a lot of garage sales or estate sales. I do frequent thrift stores and antique stores for most of my items. So that's just a personal choice on your own. But over these 3 years, I have learned what items sell for me. As you can see here, I've got a bunch of items on the table in front of me. I sourced all of these items yesterday in Lansing, Michigan, at Lansing's Mega Mall and at 2 different Goodwills in Lansing. And I've got quite an array here, but I will tell you that unlike when I first started selling Etsy and I would just pick up anything that I thought was cute, everything here was intentionally purchased. I sell a lot of this Avon Ruby Red Cape Cod glass, especially around the holidays. I sell a lot of crystal stemware, so I picked these up. I sell a good deal of fairy lamps. I don't get into high-end fairy lamps, but fairy lamps are always a good seller. And people will say, well, but we don't like the clear glass. But, you know, if you put colored fairy lights in them, it's just as good as having the clear glass or the colored glass. I have here also some brass candlesticks, and these are nice and heavy. I do sell quite a few candlesticks. I think they're kind of making a comeback, and maybe I'll make a video about that in the future. One thing I sell a lot of is wedding cake toppers and anniversary related items. So yesterday I did pick up a 10th anniversary plate and a happy anniversary Precious Moments figurine. I can usually sell any religious themed plates or decorations that I find. This is a Last Supper plate that will probably go very quickly. And I have this brass horse. Brass items sell very well for me. And I do sell a lot of colored art glass. So this compote will be a good little addition. These just happen to be sitting out here. I promise you my videos are not going to be hauls. There are enough of those videos out there already for you to see. But I did just want to mention that these were very strategically purchased, and that's how I like to keep it, because I don't want to have a lot of inventory sitting around that's been sitting around for a year or two. I'm just now trying to deal this summer with getting out from under all of that poorly purchased inventory that I have purchased in the last couple of years. So now that I'm out from under that, I really am very specific about what I purchase for my shop. Okay, now seems like a really good time to take you on a little tour around my shop. And so I'm going to grab the phone off the tripod and we're just going to walk around and look at my setup here. This setup in Michigan is probably triple the size of the area that I have at our place in Florida, where we are from October until May. So I have lots of extra room here that I don't have in Florida. Maybe in October I can share that Florida setup with you. But for now, let's take a look around my shop here. Obviously, it's my computer, my table. This is my photography setup here. I do have a bigger photo box down in Florida, which is actually a lot nicer, especially considering that I'm now selling bundles and decor sets in my Etsy shop. It gets a little tight trying to get everything into that photo box, but we make it work. Next, I have got my box area. Keep all of my boxes here and organized. And up top there, I've got some milk glass vases. I put those into collections to sell. As we move over, I'm going to see if I can just pan and get all of these numbered boxes. All of my Etsy shop items are in these numbered boxes. Now, I had to put them in these bins like this because we do carry the entire Etsy shop back and forth between Michigan and Florida in the spring and the fall. So someday I will probably make a video about how I number my items and how I decide which numbered boxes they go into, and probably talk about the fact that I am getting ready to split my inventory in half so that I have dedicated Michigan inventory and dedicated Florida inventory, and I leave that in those two places and just deactivate and activate the items for sale in my shop according to where I am. Moving over, sorry, that was kind of a long time looking at numbered boxes. I do keep extra boxes, Amazon and other product boxes that come in. I reuse all of those. You know, I'm from the waste not, want not generation. I don't just throw away those boxes, I use them. So hopefully my Etsy customers are not disappointed they don't get a new box when they get their items, but that's just the economically responsible thing to do. Here on this particular shelf, let's see if I can get over here, I have items to be listed. Now the stuff on the bottom is stuff that I'm just kind of holding to see what happens. Then next up, I do sell those cedar jewelry boxes from Lane in my shop, but I only ever put up one at a time because they're always so different. If you know what they are, then you know what I mean. The next shelf up is all items that I am already ready to list. I should probably have those up in the next week or two. I do have a bunch of Waterford that I'm going to be listing, a bunch that I already have. The sconces on the top shelf, I'm just collecting. I haven't figured out what to do with those yet. Over here in this corner, I have, now these are items that actually are already listed in my shop. They're large for the most part. They're not going to be fitting into my bins. And those are examples of the merchandise I will deactivate the 1st of October and leave in Michigan to sell again next summer. I've got a whole collection of Mood Blue Indigo up there. Underneath this pillowcase, ta-da, are a bunch of silver plate water pitchers and coffee pots. My first video was about silver plate water pitchers. It was something else. Hopefully, if you watched that, you're not too turned off from my channel. Keep extra bubble wrap there. And like I mentioned before, I just started selling styled decor bundles, and I have each of those kind of in the box. They'll be shipped in already because I had to put them all in there and weigh them in order to put the calculated shipping numbers up on the listing. So they're kind of in the way on the floor, but anyways. My packing peanuts are there. I swear by packing peanuts to make glass items safe. And then on the very last shelf here, I have, these are the poor items that I have deleted from my shop that are going to be going to my antique booth. Those items are in limbo. Down here I have items to hopefully work into future decor bundles, and then I have my extra bubble wrap. So that's my physical setup, and maybe you've had a little insight into the way I run my Etsy shop. Probably not a lot of insight, but a little, just enough to whet your appetite, right? So when I thought about making this video, I thought about, okay, some people make videos that say, what I'd do differently if I were to start an Etsy shop in 2025 or something like that. And honestly, I don't know what I would do differently, because everything I did in the past has kind of accumulated to what my shop is now, and I'm pretty happy with the way the shop is going. Not totally happy with the extra inventory that I have on hand, but I do have a plan for liquidating that and for moving forward. And I'm also happy that I have a really good plan in place for splitting my inventory between Michigan and Florida, because we do love to go down to Florida in the winter and be snowbirds. If you love vintage, you're halfway there. If you want to sell vintage, you can definitely do it. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. I'd love to see your comments and any other tips that you can add down below. This is a new channel, and we are working as hard as we can to make this thing become something that is useful to people. So if you would subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If you would like this video, that would be great. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you got maybe one little tip out of watching me talk about my Etsy shop. We'll be back soon with another episode.